Brent Braun here with the Magic Firm and J&B Magic Theater located in New Albany, Indiana. I just wanted to thank you for picking up some of the new Insignia decks. When I created the Insignia decks, the idea was, as you all know, I'm a card user, right? I'm not a card collector. I don't have shelves full of playing cards in my house. I have playing cards that I use all the time. I tear them up, I burn them, I rip them. I'm constantly destroying playing cards because I'm concerned about Magic, not about collecting something to show my friends, right? So when I created this deck of cards, I wanted a deck of cards that I would actually use, right? And I was the guy who for years would say I would only use 808 rider backs, right? That standard rider back was what I would always use because the audience was familiar with it. And because they're familiar with it, they just wouldn't suspect or ask questions. I could take out that deck of cards and be good to go. Then in the last 5 or 6 years, we've seen playing cards start to take off in the retail market, like Target, stocking more interesting cards through Theory 11 and those sorts of things. And I started to notice that the style of playing cards were changing. But I wanted to produce a deck of cards that changed the style, but still kept that 130-year-old trusted bicycle name, which is why I created Bicycle Insignia cards. Just again, it gives me something that the audience is still familiar with because they're that trusted bicycle brand. But I think they look cool and sort of match my style and match my outfit and sort of what I'm doing and the direction I'm trying to go with my Magic. So we created the Insignia-backed playing cards. Also, we included a couple of gaffs in there, a couple of interesting gaffs that have a lot of unique things you can do with them. I know in the industry it's sort of standard to just use a double backer and a blank facer, and we may go back to that in future printings. Our plan is to eventually have these available in red and blue as well. We'll actually be kickstarting that in a couple of weeks, I think early December this year. So in a couple of weeks, so if you're following us, if not, follow us on Kickstarter, The Magic Firm. Make sure you check out that project so you can get some really good deals on the red and blue ones when we make those available. But we may go to just standard gaffs for those. But these I wanted special gaffs because I personally wanted them for a few effects that I do and really enjoy and love. So we're going to go over a couple of those tricks now. I'm going to show you what I do with them, why I chose these gaffs, and I hope you enjoyed. Thanks again for your support. I'm Brent Braun from The Magic Firm, and when I say we couldn't have made these possible without you, that's 100% true. These Insignia decks only exist because people like you decided to support them and buy them from us. So thank you all so much. We appreciate it. Let's get into some Magic. So as I mentioned, with this deck of cards, you get some interesting gaffs. The first gaff is just a duplicate card in the opposite color. That way, if you're doing Red Hot Mama Chicago opener style tricks, you get that automatically in the box ready to go. So this can already do things, right? You can also, if you're doing color changing deck, you add that to the top, and now you're ready to do sort of a single card color changing deck, and you get that card. So that's giving you a duplicate Two of Hearts in the opposite color, which I think is kind of clever. Also, if you open 2 decks at a time, then you can always swap over the Two of Hearts, and then you'll have a duplicate Two of Hearts that matches this deck and a duplicate white Two of Hearts that matches that deck. So also, if you're like me and you're constantly using duplicates in your deck of cards, if you're familiar with my work, you know that I always do have a duplicate in the deck somewhere. But you can sort of switch those two around and always make sure that you're doing that without shorting some other deck. The problem with duplicating cards is you take one out and then the other deck only has 51 in it. Now, how do you fix all that? So that duplicate card you can then use and swap out, or you can just have an odd back duplicate, which is kind of clever. That's what we're going to use it for in this very first trick. This very first trick is also going to use the other gaff. This is the a card box gaff is what it's been called. So this, if you look at it, it is a gaff that exactly matches the backside of the card box. So when this is on the backside of the card box, it looks indistinguishable from the card box at all. That's going to allow us to sort of, in this trick, add and remove things or to the deck. You'll see what that means in just a moment. And then on the opposite side of that, it'll just be a black card so that when it's on the deck, it becomes invisible. That'll make sense why we're doing that as well. What's clever about this is if you put this in the loaded position and you set this card box onto the table, it looks just like a card box, right? There's no reason for anyone to question it, and we'll get back to what we're going to do with that in just a moment. This first trick that we're going to teach you, as I said, there are a lot of different things that you can do with this. This gimmick is really old, the idea of this, and we're going to show you a couple different things. This first trick is by Masawa Atasukawa, I think the name is. It was originally called Card Case, and it was in a book called Japan Ingenious. It's a really clever way to sort of force a card in a really clever way. So let's get into that, talk about the setup and what's happening here. What's clever about this is that you're going to use both gaffs to accomplish this trick. This was actually the trick I had in mind when I decided to use these two gaffs and to include them in the deck, because it really is one of my favorite sort of tricks to use with these gaffs. So the first thing I'm going to do is reach in here and take out the actual Two of Hearts. So we have the real black back Two of Hearts. That's going to go face up on the box. Covering that, we're going to use this as a cover card to create what looks just like a card box sitting on the table now. But again, it's actually that gimmick with the duplicate Two of Hearts on top of it. So we'll talk about how to get into that in some clever ways in just a moment, but that's sitting there on the table. If you're not familiar with how to set this down this way, I essentially use the Vernon technique, which is the way he tables a double lift. Just push with your finger and lift straight up. and then that's not going to separate. Also, remember, there's no reason for the audience to sort of be looking at this anyway. It's just a card box sitting on the table. This one's still a little fresh. Needs to be worn in and get a little grimy, but once it's a little grimy, it'll be ready to go. That goes inside of there, and now the card box is just sitting here. Now the card box is sitting there on the table. Remember, it's the 2 of hearts face up with the gimmick on top of it. That's sitting on this edge of the table as I take it out and set it onto the table. The other 2 of hearts, oh, I forgot to mention this, the other 2 of hearts, the odd backed one, in this situation, the white one, goes inside of the card box. Face down inside of the card box, there's that white backed card there. That goes here. Then again, we go back to our setup, so we're in this situation. Both cards squared, sitting on the card box. That's sitting here on the edge of the table, and we're ready to go. Now, at any point I'm ready to do this trick, I just have the cards shuffled. The spectator shuffles the cards, they cut the cards, and they start to deal cards into my hand one at a time with the understanding they can stop anytime they want. But before they do that, I say, oh, wait, before you do that, there's something interesting here. I pick this up, and I pick this up in sort of dealer's grip by rotating my wrist and turning it over. There's something interesting. If you listen, you can hear there's something in the box. That's going to be important in a moment. Now, I can flash both sides of this, right, because that's the real back, and that's the gimmick they're looking at, but they don't even see it. So there's something interesting inside of this box. We're going to get it back to that in just a moment. After they've shuffled, they get to this point, they deal cards into my hand. They stop anytime they want. As soon as they stop, what we're going to do is load both of those cards on top of the packet where they stopped me at, sort of invisibly, while removing the white card. Okay, so what that's going to look like technically is this. I'm going to come over and I'm going to say, stop right there. They stop. I go, yes, because there's something interesting in the box. I'm going to come over, I'm going to drop those cards off on top. As I come forward, open that box. I'm going to take out the 2 of hearts, show it, and then I'm going to say, but you decided you wanted to stop right here. You stopped me on the 2 of hearts, and now we're out. This is hidden. That's the actual gimmick that was doing the cover-up work. This is the card that came out from underneath of that. So let's show you that in real time, what that's actually going to look like. Let's get back to where we started. The 2 is in the box. On the opposite side, we have the face-up 2 plus the gimmick. That is on the card box on the table here before we start. They shuffle and cut. As they're shuffling and cutting, I go, oh, wait, I forgot to tell you. Before we start, I forgot to tell you, there's something interesting inside of the card box. Can you hear that? They say, yes, they can hear it. I lay it down. I forgot. I actually pick it up this way. I pick it up sort of in dealer's grip as I turn it over, and I go, look, you can actually hear it. And I'm letting them look directly at the gimmick right now, which is kind of cool. Perfect. There's something interesting in here. Deal cards into my hand. Stop anytime you want. So now they proceed to deal from the shuffled deck. Anytime they stop, I say, but remember, there's something interesting in here. And right before the last moment, I can show that, right? I can come up and show that gimmick right before I do the move. The move's going to look like this in real time. Look, there's something interesting inside of here. That is a single playing card. That card is the 2 of hearts. The card you stopped me at is indeed the 2 of hearts. So that's the trick. I hope you guys enjoy it. Again, if you have any questions, you can always email me. I'm going to show you guys a couple other things you can do with the gimmick too, but that's one of my favorite. Thank you all so much. So this trick is one of my favorite tricks to perform in walk around. It's actually originally based on a trick by a good friend of mine, Jason Dean. Love you, Jason. Super incredible performer, one of my favorite people on the planet. So if you don't know Jason Dean, check out his stuff. Anything Jason touches just becomes gold. So that's super incredible. He had a trick called Threesome, which was a 3-phase sort of pick and find 3 cards thing. And again, I do a lot of walk around magic, so it didn't necessarily work for me. I wanted something that was sort of faster, something that happened quicker in the spectator's hands, or something that I could just do a single phase of. So I came up with this idea. I really think it's an interesting take on the plot. We're using that Gaff that we talked about. So that's the card box Gaff. Okay. So it matches the card box. In this situation, the only other setup is that we're going to take the actual card box, and in Sharpie marker, we're going to write a force card there. I'm using the 2 of hearts just to keep all of our force cards consistent for the video, but that could be any card. It doesn't need to be the duplicate card. So in this situation, I had that there. That's under the cellophane, actually written onto the card box. Now when we take the box front Gaff and we slide it in front of there, you end up with what looks like a blank card box with nothing written on it. Then I get one of these. This looks like a Sharpie marker. It's not. It's actually a dry erase Sharpie marker. So you can source these. There are even some magic companies out there that make these. There are a lot of different magic applications that you can do with it, but it works really well for what I'm doing here. So I start with the box of cards. I say, look, I'm going to have somebody select a card, but before they do that, I'm going to make a prediction, and I'll show that prediction around to a couple of people. So now all I do is come forward, and right where that 2 of hearts is at, I predict a different card. So let's say in this situation, I'm going to do the Queen of Spades. I just draw a queen and a spade, right? And then I show this around to a couple of people. Say, look, we're going to let you guys see that. That's the prediction. In a moment, I'm going to have, I don't want Sally to see it, but in a moment, I'm going to have Sally select a card. If this works out right, that's going to be the card, right? So then I set this down, recap the marker. Now, as I go to turn this over to take the cards out, all I'm going to do is put my thumb directly on the Queen of Spades, and I'm going to pull back as I turn the box over. So that's going to make the Queen of Spades vanish from the cellophane. Boom. As I turn over, it becomes invisible. Now, as I go to take the cards out, I'm going to sneak underneath and steal the box gaff at the same time that I dump out all the playing cards. Okay, so then I dump out all the playing cards. Now I set this down in someone's hands. So now they're holding what seems to be the prediction. That prediction seems to be the Queen of Spades. Of course, what's actually happened is that the box front gaff has been stolen onto the bottom of the deck as I've dumped the cards out, which has changed the box into the Two of Hearts. So now we get that change at the end. I hope you guys can see that. Yeah, you get that change at the end where now that's the gimmick Two of Hearts that you get there at the end. Okay, so that's what we're trying to get to, is to that point. So again, and then once we do that, I lay this down in somebody's hands. In the box, I already have the other Two of Hearts. So then I take the deck of cards, I shuffle that into the middle. I'm going to have somebody select a card. So I cut cards into their hand. What am I going to do? They say stop. Whatever force we're going to use there, we force the Two of Hearts. Then we turn over the box. I go, oh, wasn't the Queen of... Oh, no, I was really close, though. Check and show what I wrote on the box. And now there's this weird, interesting moment where this other spectator saw me write Queen of Spades, and now it's no longer the Queen of Spades, it's the Two of Hearts. So you can play that a couple different ways. You can actually let the person selecting the card see it in advance or not. I sort of like the spectators to sort of freak out and then have to tell her the story. I like them to be like, wait, that's not even what he wrote down. He wrote down that you pick a Queen of Spades, and you picked a 2, and now the box matches it. I'm confused, you know, just a fun little thing to let them talk about after you've left the table. So again, the way this starts, real Two of Hearts is on top of the deck. The box front gaff goes inside of the box. And when you understand, when that goes inside of the box, that's essentially making the card box blank, which means I can predict anything I want here. These go inside of the card box. And now I have what looks like a card box on every side. But as soon as I'm ready to write a prediction, I'm going to write a prediction here on the box, and I'm going to show you guys what it is. So again, I'm going to write the same thing, the Queen of Spades. I write a Queen and a Spade. I show that to the audience. And again, just so we can understand what's happening here, as I go to take the cards out of the box, so now I'm here, I lay it on the table for a minute, recap the marker, have them recap it. I'm here. As I go to take the cards out of the box, all I'm going to do is push my thumb on this, and as I turn over, my thumb slides back. And in the process of doing that, that's been wiped off the face of the cellophane so that there's no longer a card there. As I do that, I continue rotating. I dump these cards out of the box. As the cards come out of the box, the change has already happened. Then I'm going to have somebody select a playing card. I'm going to force the Two of Hearts using your favorite method. You know, any force that you want will work in this situation. I force the Two of Hearts. Then I sort of, what was it? A 2? Okay. And then I turn over the box. And now we can see that that's the Two of Hearts there, you know. I also played around with the idea of making this written in different colored ink. So if you do a Two of Hearts here, you could actually write it in red. So now the black ink, it sort of becomes this weird thing now, where it's like not only was it written in black, but now it's changed, and it's changed into the Two of Hearts. Depends on your character, what works for you. For me, it was always too much of a stretch. Like, so I predicted the wrong card, it became the right card, then the ink changed colors. Just didn't make sense. But for some people, I could see where that might actually work and be a cool little moment. Also emphasizes the color change in the box. But yeah, so that's my very mild variation of Jason Dean's threesome. I don't think I've added much to it. All I've done is shorten the routine because I wanted something that was a little bit faster, all in the hands, and just, you know, great for the walk around table. It only takes as long as it takes for me to write down a card and to force a card. So it's 60 seconds in and out if I need to do it that fast. So hope you guys enjoy. So the other reason I wanted to include an odd-backed card is because I wanted you to be able to do Red Hot Mama, or Chicago Opener as it's sometimes called. That goes back to Al Leach and Frank Eberhardt. Just using that duplicate card, it gives so much impact with this trick. It's such a simple trick for such a small amount of work. It really is one of my favorite things to perform, so I wanted to include that. Again, selfishly, so that every time I open this deck of cards, I'm ready to do this without having to add anything or move anything around. I've got all the cards I need inside of the deck. So let me show you what the trick looks like really quick, and then we'll get into how it works. So I have a spectator select a card, any card they want. They look at the card. In this situation, that card is the King of Hearts. It's the King of Hearts. I cut cards like this to the table anytime they want. They throw the King of Hearts back in there. Perfect. And then lay everything else on top, square it up. So look, if I just snap my fingers like that, something interesting happens in the deck. You'll notice that one card becomes a little different than the rest. I don't know if you can see that. It's sort of subtle, but it is a different color than the rest of the cards. That card happens to be your King of Hearts. Now look, I can do that with any card. I'll show you what I mean. We lay that card down there. If I take these cards and I just cut them off to the table in small packets like this, you'll see different cards go past. But anytime you want, you say stop, and we'll have you look at the next card anytime you want. Right there. So the next one is this one. That is the, what is that? The Two of Hearts. Watch, if I take the Two of Hearts like this, I just square these up. I give it a little snap like this, and the Two of Hearts becomes the only odd card in the deck now. It does become the only odd card. Oh wait, I did say the only odd card. That's the one. That's the Two of Hearts. That's out and done. So that is the trick. A really great trick, really simple. And the only thing I've added to it is a very subtle, a little bit of subtle work on the Hindu force. I don't think it's groundbreaking, but it's just an interesting thing I wanted to talk about. So in order to do the setup, we set that up like this. We have the odd backed card face down, the duplicate Two of Hearts on top of it, then the rest of the deck goes on top. Now we're ready to do the trick. We have the spectator select a card. That can be a free selection, a free choice, any card they want here. They take out the card. This card happens to be the Seven of Clubs. So we'll take the Seven of Clubs, we'll lay it down there on the table. I'm going to cut cards onto the table in little stacks like this. Now remember, our duplicate odd backed card is on the bottom with the duplicate above it. So that's the white backed card in this situation. As I cut cards, anytime they want, they say stop. They put their card back, and now I take everything in my hand and I place it on top. That's a key card location. So the white backed card is now going on top of their selection. So remember, their selection is the Seven of Clubs. The white card goes back on top of it. Then I do whatever magic gesture, whatever I'm doing for the presentation I want. Now when I spread through, we'll notice one card is odd. Notice that when I spread over because I'm going to prepare for that double lift. So when I take these cards and lay them down here, that means that the actual Two of Hearts is on the bottom of that packet. That's controlling that for the next phase. I push this over. Now I'm going to square up and get the double lift. Turn over the card, show that the Nine of Clubs is a white card, right? Say, look, we'll take, the Seven of Clubs is a white card. We'll take the Seven of Clubs, we'll lay it up here on the table. I can do that with any card. Now I put these cards on top of here because the two's on the bottom. So now that's been controlling that second card the entire time. Now we're going to do the Hindu Shuffle Force. Traditionally, the Hindu Shuffle Force is you just cut cards like this. And what I'm doing there is the Hindu Shuffle. So if you don't know that, there's a lot of places that you can read it, but I'm just taking packets of cards from the top and let them fall down into my hands, okay? Now when I do that, that means the bottom card is never changing. So they can say stop anytime they want during that process, and they're always going to get a Two of Hearts. They can stop me later, and they're always going to get a Two of Hearts. There's a lot of interesting work on this. This is a thing I came up with years ago that I used to use in this trick. I don't think it's groundbreaking. I don't think it's ultra exciting, but it is a nice little subtlety. I take the cards off, and then I rotate them this way, so you can see that one was the Ace of Diamonds, that one was the Six, that one was the Eight of Spades, Seven of Diamonds, whatever these cards are. And anytime you want, as these go off my fingers like this, anytime you want, you can just say stop. Stop right there. Okay, I'm going to have you look at the next one, and we'll toss that back on top. That's the force, right? So it's exactly the same force. Let's go through and do it again. It's exactly the same force. I've just added this nice little thing where it looks like you're getting options. So I say, look, I'm going to drop cards like this. You're going to say stop anytime you want. Also notice that as I do this, I sort of fan those cards very wide too. So you see all the cards you could have stopped me on, right? You're seeing big packets of cards that you could have stopped me on any of these. Anytime you want, you're just going to say the word stop. You stop there. Okay, we need to look at that card. Don't forget what it is. We'll put that back in the middle. Of course, as soon as I give the deck a little riffle like this, a little snap, whatever the magic move is, it becomes the only odd-backed card. I don't see an odd-backed card. Well, there is only one odd-backed card. That's the one that used to be the Seven of Clubs. Now it is the Two of Hearts. So that is Chicago Opener Red Hot Mom. It's a super great trick. I hope you enjoy it. It's also a really easy trick for anybody to do. So if you've gotten this deck of cards, you're not currently doing magic tricks now, this is the best one to start with because it's really, really a simple trick to do. If you need information on the double lift, you can find that a lot of different places. If you're not already reading the Card College books and you want to learn magic, I recommend picking those up. It's just a super great resource. You can learn how to force the cards, how to do the double lifts, all the things you would ever need to know. And of course, you can call me at the Magic Shop. Come see me anytime, and I can help you run you through that. New Albany, Indiana. J&B Magic Shop located in New Albany, Indiana. We're about 10 minutes from downtown Louisville, so if you're ever in the area and want to stop by and say hi, we'd love to see you. Thanks. So earlier I talked about how one of my favorite things to do was quick and easy visual magic at a restaurant or bar, things that sort of happen impossibly and very quickly. This is one of those tricks. It's one of my favorite openers to do at a table. Again, we included the Gaff to allow you guys to do this, and I think you'll enjoy what we're doing here. So uses a deck of cards. Actually, we don't need the rubber band. Let's get rubber band. As a matter of fact, you know what? We don't even need the box. Let's just get rid of the box. and we'll use just the deck of cards. Actually, you know what? That was sort of silly. We will need the box later, which is important. That's why, look, magically, in my back pocket now has appeared the box, which is kind of cool. But you know what? If that's the box, then let's just do this. Boop, there you go. Cards go back inside of the box. We're back to where we started. That's the trick with the cards and the box. I hope you're ready. So what you just saw was Ken Brooks' Vanishing Card Case and Cards. Super great trick. It's a great opener for walk around because it lasts 45 to 50 seconds. Bang, bang. 2 strong bits of magic and it's over. Again, we've included that gaff with it so you can make this up. That gaff is pretty simple. It's just that box gaff front that we've been talking about with a card flap added to it. So you take the card box, cut the flap off the edge. You're then going to add those pieces together. When you get that piece together, you end up with this. So it's just the card gaff on that side, back on that side. The flap's just taped on both sides to give you the gaff. The deck goes face up on the table. You then take this card, put it here, wrap that around the front, and now you have what looks like a cased deck of cards when it's actually the gimmick on top of a regular deck of cards that's out of the case. So what Ken Brooks had, and I don't see a lot of people use this idea anymore, but I think it's important and helps a lot, is if you wrap a rubber band around everything, then you have what, acts just like a cased deck of cards, right? You can sit it on the table. You don't have to worry about keeping it square. You don't have to worry about anything. It just sits there. So we have that done. Remember, that deck is face up inside of there. If we were to look at this again, those cards are face up inside of that gimmick. So let's pull this apart and make sure we're all on the same page here. So the deck is face up. This goes on top. That wraps around. Then the rubber band around goes end for end before we start. So now this is going to go around to here. Perfect. Then everything goes together, squared into the middle, and now you have what looks just like a deck of cards inside of the case. The benefit to here is the flap is hanging out, but the flap starts to cover that edge, which is kind of cool, because now I can even flash that. I can flash the bottom of that, and it looks like the card box, right? It looks pretty similar to what this would look like if the flap were out. So if we look at these two things, they should look almost identical. The sides don't look the same, but from the top and the bottom, they should look pretty identical in look there because you have that flap that's hanging out on both of them. This one has a rubber band on it, this one doesn't, but they should look pretty much the same. So now that's in this situation. The other box is just a deck of cards, full of cards. That goes into my back left pocket, so that's sitting back here when I approach the table. What's nice about this is I can do all this, as you just saw, I can do it all without a jacket on either. The original Ken Brooks routine used a jacket pocket to ditch in. I'm actually ditching in my left back pocket, and as I steal from my right back pocket, or as I show from my back right pocket. So we'll get into the techniques of that in just a moment. But so now we're in this situation. In order to make this happen, all I do is I take this out and I talk for a minute. I introduce myself, I say hi, and I casually show both sides of the box as I'm talking. Then I say, here, we don't need this rubber band. I take the rubber band off. I say, all we need is the cards, and I open that flap so they can see that's a card box. Now I'm going to push down and turn my wrist over, pull these cards out of the box, and holding this hand as if they still hold it. So as I'm here, I'll turn sideways a little bit. We're here, so it looks like the box there. I turn over, I pull out of my hand here, fan those cards immediately, give it a little rub and a tap, and now all the box seems to have vanished. So now the box is gone. Now even if I spread too far, that doesn't matter because that's why we've got that box gaff there. That's the box gaff you're seeing there on the other side. So it blends everything in, boom, it vanishes. Now all of a sudden I square this back up. When I square it back up, I'm going to keep the flap. I don't want to turn 180 degrees because that'll put the flap on the side towards them. I want to keep the flap towards the back of the palm so it doesn't flash. So then I do this. I can spread out and I can show these cards. And that's when I sort of casually mentioned we don't need the box. Oh, actually, we're going to need the box. And as I say we're going to need the box, all I'm going to do now is turn my body, drop this into my back right pocket as I get these out of my back left pocket. So I'll stand up and we'll run through that entire sequence one time so you can see what's happening. I'm here. I take the rubber band off. We don't need the rubber band. We just need the cards. As a matter of fact, we don't even need the card case. Card case is gone. Show these cards. And I do like to show faces of cards here too, right? Cards gone. But I will need the box in just a moment. That's why magically, look, in my back pocket, and I'm going to turn my body almost completely sideways. But as I do it, this left hand is going to drop down to its side, keeping my elbow tucked. I don't want to tuck my elbow back because they'll see it flash in this back side here. You don't want that elbow flashing there. So instead I tuck my elbow out. My elbow goes out instead of back, okay? That way it won't flash on the back side. So as I turn, my elbow goes out. Right now that's dropping into my back pocket as this exposes the box from here. Now I'm going to bring my hand out and pretend I still hold the deck of cards. What I'm going to do that is I take these out and toss them into the air. So that's the misdirection everyone's watching there. By the time they watch back, it's gone and we're out and done. So that is it. Let's run that sequence one more time. Let me get these gimmicks out of my pockets again. That one fell on the floor, and we'll run that one more time just so we make sure everybody's on the same page here. This is in the back pocket. So that's ready to come out. This is wrapped with the rubber band. I take the rubber band out. I go, look, you know what? We won't need the card box. Card box is gone. We'll need just the cards. You know, though, we will need the card box later. That way, if I snap my fingers like this, the card box reappears in my back pocket. Look, nothing in my hand. Over here in my back pocket, there's the card box. And if that's the card box, that's the cards back inside the box. Ta-da! So that is Ken Brooks' Vanishing Card Case and Cards. I think it's a great trick and a great opener. Again, another use for that box front gaff. Thank you all so much. So I just want to take an opportunity again to thank you guys for purchasing the Insignia decks. I hope you enjoyed this bonus tutorial. Again, I say this because it's true. We couldn't have done this project without you, and that's what I continue to do, is to live on your generosity, everything you can do to help us out. If you enjoyed the decks, make sure you tell your friends about them. Leave good reviews wherever you can. Just help us spread the words to get it out there that we are creating great decks of cards and doing incredible things. Also, if you have any questions about any of the routines that I've taught or any questions at all for me, you can always get a hold of me at themagicfirm.com. You can also get me on Facebook and all those other places, but themagicfirm.com would be the best place. Send me an email through the contact form. I would love to talk to you if you have any questions. So thanks again for all the support. We hope to see you guys in the real world soon. Bye.